Good afternoon, all, and welcome to the Sal Greco Show. And I'm your host, Sal Greco. I hope everyone's having a fun-filled afternoon. This show in particular is going to have a lot of news today, so I hope everybody sticks to their seats for this one. First off, if you can, if you're on YouTube right now watching us on the Finest Unfiltered Network, please hit that like, share, subscribe button. Hit the notification button. And if you're on X right now, where we're streaming live also, please hit the repost button and try to share this out with all your friends. So, there's a lot in the news, and going to start off with something. Something just happened in Florida. So it seems that Florida, who cooperates with ICE, just had their largest cooperative action taken. So let's hear the illustrious governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, had a little bit of a presser just now about this.
This is the largest immigration enforcement operation that we've seen in quite some time throughout the entire country. Florida state agencies assisted federal authorities to arrest over 1,100 illegal aliens across the state. That is a really significant impact.
Hey, if you live in...
So there you have it. There's a cooperative deal, right? ICE is cooperating with Florida state troopers, police officers. Wow. What would happen if that happened in New York City, in New York State? See, that's the difference between sanctuary cities and states and ones that actually follow the law. And this is the problem you're going to have in New York City, because the NYPD cannot do this. Why? Because there's legislation there. You can't just sign executive order. I know Eric Adams thinks he can do that. That doesn't work. But you see how something so large scale could be pulled off and done. What they did is they rounded up gang members. That's what they're doing. Okay. This isn't a, what do they like to call this? Like they're rounding up people that are working in school. And, it's just insane. The stuff that you hear out there. Remember, folks, there's a lot of rhetoric designed to bring in low information people, get you all worked up and scared, because the common person does not know illegal immigration. They don't even know the laws or what's the difference. I'm talking about the common person. But that's what would be designed as a low information person. They don't know. So what do? Fearmonger. Oh no, the Trump administration is lurking in the corner. They're gonna deport your kid as you walk into school. Come on, this is just you got to be educated, folks. So there you have it. That's actually a good job by Florida and the governor. When he's doing something good, you have to applaud them. So kudos to ICE, Tom Homan and company, and the Florida governor, and all the Florida state troopers, as well as every police officer that is working in a local jurisdiction right now in Florida, even the ones that showed up to John McCarty's house on Sunday. Also, there's more news coming out of Florida. So in New York is losing at least, millions in income. And right here, it says a net 30,000 New Yorkers fled the city of New York for Florida's Palm Beach and Miami-Dade counties in the 5 years through 2022, taking with them a combined $9.2 billion in income, a new report showed. So that's a problem, because they're not just coming to West Palm. That money's coming out where they move into where? New Jersey, Connecticut, the Carolinas, Texas, and that is an issue, especially for voting as well for New York City. Look, not everyone leaving the city left the state. A net of nearly 138,000 city residents relocated to New York's Long Island during those years, reducing the Big Apple's adjusted gross income by a combined $11.1 billion, according to the CBC data. Westchester County, just north of the city, gained 60,000 net new residents, cutting the city's adjusted gross income by $5 billion. Yeah. Plus, Hood Mayor NYC says, plus the $7 billion Adams. You're right, and that's the money is being shifted, and that's why you're having these economic issues in New York City, as well as the way they mismanage and misspend money. As you know, the swagger man went out with a plan. He has no plan for anything. And you could tell because you're watching money being moved out. There's a lot less income, which means what? Your taxes are going to go up. That's all you ever hear in New York City. Tax the rich. That's the AOC. Tax the rich. You're going to bankrupt yourselves if you keep doing that. You can't subsidize lost income by taxing rich people. Here, number of millionaires, 2010. Look, New York had 35 million, almost 36 million. And in 2022, they had 70 million. Now look at the other states. Florida had 19 million in 2010. Now they have almost 78 million in 2022. Texas only 24 million in 2010. Now has 74 million in 2022. So you're seeing how they're opting out for different states. The states are on top, and the other states are also growing in percentages. But New York, that's why. And what could it be that people want to flee? I know. Oh, policies. That might be it. Your policies are insane, and you keep voting for insane people to be in office, like Eric Adams, like Adrian Adams, and the list could go on. Carl Hastie. How's that attorney general looking in New York State? Well, I know she's running around buying houses in other states and making them primary residences. So, I mean, that's according to these bombshell allegations we've seen recently between Sam Antar and Joe Gilbert, and also now Jason Goodman finding out things. So New York is a mess, and it needs to be fixed from within. And within meaning voters. So can't be low information. This is not the time, especially with the elections coming in November. And now, since we're talking about New York City and we're talking about Eric Adams, let's bring up someone that recently has been in the news. That's Richie Taylor, Deputy Chief of the Internal Affairs Bureau. So let me get you started with some of these pictures, because this is a guy who has run around. I guess he wants to run around as the king of the Jewish community that he clearly is not, because the community hates him. And I'm going to show you why exactly. But here's a little tidbit I learned about Mr. Taylor. Okay, and it appears here, allegedly here, this is the Madison Jewish Center. It's on Nostrand Avenue. This is on Saturday. Any Saturday you could apparently see this. Okay, allegedly you could see this every Saturday going on. That's a marked RMP. That is a marked police vehicle, as you could tell. It clearly says NYPD. Okay, so let's get to the next picture. That's the next picture. Who's that? That's Richie Taylor. Not in uniform. I don't know. Is he working? I would guess he's working. I don't know. But he clearly has a marked RMP there waiting for him. And it's a Saturday. Let's go to the next picture. Oh, what's that? That's his driver. His driver from Community Affairs, because obviously somebody has to drive this vehicle. So his driver's there, not in uniform, not unknown why he's driving a marked car with plain clothes, which is clearly in violation of the New York City Police Department patrol guide. I mean, apparently you can violate this rule book if you know the right people, by the way. That's what it seems to me. It's all arbitrary. But he's standing in the middle of the street in front of this place because his driver apparently parks the car there. And then they get in the vehicle, and let's get to the next picture. So this is on Madison Place, and Richie Taylor, who's in the car, then gets out of the vehicle and goes to some house there. And he's not there for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. He's there for quite a while. Apparently, the woman that he's visiting, who I'm not going to name, but I do have the name, is also married. Thought Richie Taylor is married. So I don't know what purpose there is for Richie Taylor on Saturdays to take a New York City Police Department vehicle with a driver over to a female's house, and he's there. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what you want to call this, because you're not supposed to be doing this in the New York City Police Department. But I told you, some people are immune to certain activities and others aren't. So again, if you're a police officer and you're wearing white socks right now and getting shellacked for it by your supervisors, well, you have a deputy chief running around on Saturdays doing we don't know what. And his driver also is not in uniform, which would mean he's telling him not to be in uniform, because as we're learning, especially with the Madry situation when he was chief of department, all kinds of mischigosh was going on because it's absolutely mismanaged in the police department. But now I want to go back because there's more with Mr. Taylor. So on Thursday, as you know, last week is when these Crown Heights, we're going to call them not even protests, they're staged protests / want to become an issue / riot. They start marching in the streets over there. And of course, Richie Taylor shows up really. I mean, now he's supposed to be the man of the people. Remember, he's Jewish. I'm the Jewish chief. I'm the man. I'm the people love me. Apparently they don't. I like to present you the video that I have from Thursday when the community, let's see what they really think about Richie Taylor.
No more cameras. Done. Amazing. NYPD, you guys need us. You guys need us. Ain't no shit for that, so you wait for them to come back. You guys should shut this down. You guys should have shut it down. Shut it down. Okay? You know what the craziest thing is? You know what the craziest thing is? You know what got him out of bed. All you guys know him. Why? Because you came to me. I'm going to make it a move. We're in a real black police officer shot at the night. This is the officer, by the way. This is the officer, guys. This police officer the whole night has been inciting violence. This police officer the whole night has been inciting violence.
Yeah, so someone who champions themselves as the man of the community, he knows everyone in the community, as you could tell, was being accosted by the community. And this isn't the first time. And he's always on the cell phone. I don't know who he's talking to. He's always on the phone whenever you see him in public. So on Thursday, we had that. And then on Sunday, there was a complete disaster on Avenue T and Ocean Parkway, as you know. And Richie Taylor, who's pictured here with Bruce Blakeman, instead of being with the troops, community affairs, the police officers, let me see what happened. He wasn't there on Ocean Parkway and Avenue T, as the police had such a hard time with what's going on. He goes and has a photo op, okay, in another area. I think it was in Mill Basin, okay? And then somehow he's taking the vehicle, he has an unmarked car, to drive to Long Island to take another photo with Bruce Blakeman, who, trust me, doesn't know who Richie Taylor is from a hole in the wall. And he's in Long Island while all of this is going on. Now, if you're a chief, you're leading the troops, community affairs, wouldn't you want to be out there like the rest of the chiefs and inspect? I tell you what, I mean, you know on this show how we feel about John Schell. The guy should not be in the police department. He should have been long gone, if not investigated, charged, all this corruption. But there's one thing I'll tell you, as chief of department, he's right behind the troops when they're out there in protests. He has been. You've seen it. So Richie Taylor, who is a chief, last time I checked, but the only thing I see is he runs around, got his cell phone in his ear. You know, here he is taking another photo op. I don't know what this is about, because at the very same time, community affairs in his area, he's championing Crown Heights, is having issues with protesters. So what can I say more about this man? But there'll be more to come, because his corruption seems to be epic proportions here. And the community doesn't seem to champion Richie Taylor the way Richie Taylor claims he is their champion. So that's just a little bit there. There'll be more to come on that. But speaking of more in the police department, right before we get into the main event here, it came to my attention that Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch is having her that's the legal bureau, transcribe every show that's on the Finest Unfiltered network. They're looking for defamation. Defamation. Very hard to even try because the bar is so high. Sullivan versus New York Times. Someone from Harvard, like she is, would know this. Apparently, maybe. I don't know. So, just for you, Jessica, because I'm not in the police department. You don't bully us or me or anyone around, okay? This list right in front of you is a list of all restricted MOS that recently were transferred. And if you look at all the transfers where they're from, these officers are being transferred to the court section. Court section, okay? Why are you moving restricted police officers to a place where they have to handle prisoners? They cannot have contact with prisoners, okay? So what is this? I'll tell you what this is. John Scola was on recently. You know, he's an attorney for the NYPD. He gets a lot of these cases. This is what he was talking about. This is disability discrimination. This is something that's been going on for a long time. And the police commissioner who's busy transcribing the show instead of running a police department, she is the one doing these personnel transfers, correct? So transferring restricted members of service so they could, I don't know, they're not supposed to be putting their hands on prisoners, especially in central booking, which is where they're at. I guess, I don't know what that's about, but you understand that some of these transfers are people that, let's say, live in Brooklyn and have been restricted are now being transferred to the Bronx. They're now being transferred from Staten Island to the Bronx. They're being transferred from the Bronx to Queens. Why? Because they want them to be full duty or punishment, highway therapy, whatever you want to call it, for being restricted. That's called disability discrimination. So if anyone's on that list, I implore you, John Scola is excellent and has already got a list of lawsuits in regards to this. You know, Eric Sanders is my own attorney. I would be calling Eric Sanders. And if not, well, we could get to who we're going to have on today. You could also call her because you have definite discrimination going on with a laundry list of people being transferred because they're restricted. And to the court section on top of it, a place where you don't send a restricted person, especially in droves. I don't know where you're going to put them. They're not supposed to be in contact with prisoners or anyone in the public. That's why they're restricted. They're restricted because they're sick, they're hurt, they're injured. But again, that's disability discrimination. So maybe legal should be looking into that one instead of transcribing the show. So hope we get to the bottom of that one. But so here's the I guess the main event today. It came yesterday. We came to learn about a whole incident involving the police department in Manhattan DA's office that was quite a while ago. And we know this gentleman because he's in the news right now. He's got his own trial. I know he's got his big shot attorney, that big mouth, Artie Idala. And that's Harvey Weinstein. So Harvey Weinstein's in the news. Obviously, his trial's going on. He's being retried. But why is he in the news? A few years ago, the NYPD had a case. And the case is of a fellow paisana, Ambra Gutierrez. She made bombshell allegations at that time that ended up, I believe, in Los Angeles was found, she was found credible, and it was Harvey Weinstein was found guilty. But in New York City, they couldn't prosecute Mr. Weinstein for this. They said, we can't prosecute this. They came up with a bunch of different excuses. I remember at the time the Manhattan DA, Cy Vance, had this thing, we can't do this, we can't do that. So we don't understand exactly why that happened. We know that they tried him anyway, and, they came up with what's going on right now. But what about Ambra Gutierrez? And what exactly happened there? So I don't know if we could put up the headline or we could sort of press conference in regards to this. we know the attorney that she has, and that's right there, a friend of the show, Sarena Townsend. So let's play this for everybody.
Ultimately, the DA declined to prosecute, blaming Ms. Gutierrez's lack of credibility. So Italy found her credible enough to testify against their prime minister, and he was convicted. And I don't know if you know this, but California prosecuted Harvey Weinstein for sex crimes that he committed there. And the California prosecutors flew Ms. Gutierrez out to testify at the California trial, to testify at that trial about this incident, the 2015 incident. And he was convicted in California as well. So California found her credible enough and found the evidence of this case persuasive enough. But here in New York, where Harvey Weinstein has his tremendous influence, Ms. Gutierrez happens to lose all of her credibility.
There you have it. It was a big press conference there. So without any further ado, to explain all of this, because there's a lot there, and there's a lot fingers to be pointed at the New York City Police Department and the Manhattan DA's office as well, is Sarena Townsend, I believe. Also, former Chief Mike Osgood, former NYPD chief, and Ambra Gutierrez, the aforementioned, who was a fellow Paisan, by the way. So welcome to the Sal Greco Show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sal. I am so honored to be here. I'm always honored to be here, but today is super special because I'm with these two literal heroes, which is what I called them yesterday, and it is so true. And I would love for your viewers to finally hear from them. You're going to hear from me too, because obviously I'm a loudmouth, but these are the ones, these are the people who are the credible authors of this story. So we'd love to talk to you about this.
Well, that's what you're here for, Sarena. As you know, you're a favorite here on the Sal Greco Show. The audience loves you. Maybe we'll talk about why later on after this, because you've been on top of two certain subjects, and now you have a new subject. So I don't know who wants to start, and you could just start from the beginning and what led to this. I don't know if Ambra wants to tell us, or you, Sarena, because I gave a little bit of the backstory with this, but I don't know all the full details. So please go ahead.
Of course, Ambra, you can go ahead and tell your story.
Yeah, first of all, I wanted to ask, Sal is Salvatore, right?
See.
Okay. Just
molto bene.
Okay. And yeah, well, my story is a little bit long to explain, but in short, I'm finding myself to be almost a ghost in New York City for the fact that there is a retrial happening right now about Harvey Weinstein. And at a time in 2015, I was sexually assaulted by him. And I collaborated with the police to gather informations, confession on a microphone during our Operation Sting. And I tried everything possible. And then there was no situation closure. And even now there is, like, as I was saying, like, my presence is like ignored. I don't exist. Those proof that could have been used for this trial again, and the first trial as well in New York, were never used. So I feel like everything I did, the sacrifices, and basically losing a lot of years of my life as well, because I had to stop work. I had to leave New York back in 2015 for a few years. And it feels like it was not, let's say, used for anything. And even now it's, I don't know, like something that, yeah, it was a waste, let's say.
Right. She put herself out there, and I'm going to have the chief talk all about this too. But just to kind of bridge between Ambra and the chief, Ambra was assaulted by Harvey Weinstein in the same way as what we now know he did to many, many people. But Ambra was really the first one to come out about it, what happened to her. And she never understood or realized that if she just told the truth about what happened, that she wouldn't see justice, that they just wouldn't take her case on. I, as a former prosecutor, tried and handled, I don't know, hundreds of sex crimes cases, and I handle them on the other side now too. And this case had more evidence than almost any misdemeanor case I've ever seen in a sex crimes arena. Ambra wore a wire and actually did a controlled meet with Harvey Weinstein the night after he abused her, which is crazy, you know, the amount of commitment that she had to do this. And he actually confessed on that wire. And not only did he confess to doing what he did to her the night before, but he tried that same night to get her into his hotel room 3 times. And that was also on the recording. And so even more, and the chief will talk about all the evidence, but all of that, I mean, normally when a sex crimes case goes forward, not only to an arrest, but a prosecution, the DA usually only has the complainant's word. Maybe they'll have 1 or 2 other corroborative things that could boost the credibility, but it's hardly ever a confession on tape. The fact of the matter is they had enough to not only arrest him, but to convict him. And what we now know, thanks to Chief Osgood, is that it wasn't just a, you know, slip through the cracks type of thing. It was a coordinated cover-up. So I'll just have, if Sal, if it's cool, I'll have the chief kind of tell you, I'm going to just explain to you what he did to figure out what really happened back there and why we're calling for a formal investigation.
Hey, Sal, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Mike. You have some fans in the chat apparently, so there are plenty of people that admired your work. Just to let you know.
Hopefully, there are no distractors. But first, I want to do is I want to commend you, John McCary, Eric Dan, Marlon, Bethel. You guys are doing a tremendous job. You're bringing transparency to the NYPD.
Thank you.
Legacy that has remained secret for 175 years. So on the night of March 27th. Ambra's out working, going to different venues to actually get modeling jobs. And she gets an email or a call from her agent to go down to Harvey Weinstein's office, who she really doesn't know who he is. She meets him the night before at Radisson Community Hall. She goes down to his office at 375 Greenwich Street, where she goes up. And the short of it is she's in his office alone with him for about 10 minutes. In about 10 minutes, he grabs her breast, sticks his hand up her skirt, trying to move his hand towards her vagina, and then he attempts to kiss her. She blocks all 3. He then says to her, "Be nice to me." Those people in the video you just watched, you watched the video on some of his stars and movies. You know, I made them millions of dollars. She's very upset. She gets up and flees. And this is where the journey begins. She immediately calls her agent. We have her on video leaving Greenwich Street in distress. We have her on video calling her agent, calling her first agent, doesn't pick up. She then calls her second agent, so she immediately outcries. He says, "Come over to my office." She goes over to his office in the confines of the 9th Precinct, where her agent, Robert Hoffman, is there with his girlfriend. She's upset, visibly upset, as per the testimony. And what happened, she says, "Harvey Weinstein assaulted me. What do you want to do?" "I'd like to make a police report." Robert Hoffman says, "Are you sure you want to do that? He's powerful." She goes, "Yes, I want to do that. I don't want that to happen to anybody else." They walk over to the 9th Precinct Station House. Now, the assault occurs in the confines of the 1st. Walks over to the 9th Precinct Station House. She goes in. They go up to the desk officer. The desk officer at the time is Sergeant Della Universitia, who several years later gets subpoenaed out to Los Angeles and testifies as an outcry witness, as a Private Bad Act outcry witness in the Harvey Weinstein 2022 trial in Los Angeles, where she makes a complaint to him. He testifies under oath that she's visibly shaken, her mascara is running, she's crying hysterically, and at one point in time, he believes she vomits in the mouth and runs into the bathroom. He determines it's from the 1st Precinct. They put her in a car. The 9th Precinct drives over to the 1st Precinct. She's in the backseat with her agent, her agent's girlfriend. That the 2 police officers transported, we interview. They both say she's in the backseat crying, and they over here saying, "I don't want this happen to any other girl." They go into the 1st Precinct Station House, all 3 of them. They go up to the reception area. There's a police officer named Luatolo standing next to a sergeant named Chris Adio. She says, I'd like to make a report of sexual assault. They ask her who assaulted you. She says Harvey Weinstein, and Pio Rutolo immediately responds out in shock, not him again. They transport up to special victims. Up on 123rd Street at the time. I'm in my office, 9 o'clock at night working. I get a call from the commanding officer of the Manhattan Special Victims Squad, Lieutenant Austin Moran. He calls me up, and I answer the phone. Hey, Austin, how you doing? He goes, Chief, you're sitting down. Yeah, Austin, what do you got? He goes, we have a case on Harvey Weinstein. I say, who's Harvey Weinstein? He says, Google him. I Google him. I go, oh, shit, we have another high-profile case. I've done hundreds of high-profile cases in my 16 years as the NYPD detective commanders. I know this will be a big one. So him and I immediately put together a tactical investigative plan. And the plan is that night, if we can, do a control call. That night, if we can, do a control meet. And then once those are completed, within the next 24 hours, no matter how the call or the meet go, we're going to drag Weinstein in. We're going to interrogate him. Why in 24 hours? Because we know this is going to leak. And once it leaks, Weinstein will lawyer up. So at the end of the conversation with Austin Moran, I said to him, all right, Austin, please call the Sex Crime Bureau Chief of the Manhattan DA's office, Martha Basford. It's a 30, 40-year protocol. If you have a very violent case or you have a high-profile case, the Detective Bureau reaches out to the Bureau Chief of the DA's office, and you let them know what you have to get them on board. So Austin Moran says to me, hold on, Chief. You know what they're going to do to her. That's a quote. And I went, fuck. And what he meant from his experience and my experience is, of course, this is a high-profile case. He reasonably believed, and I reasonably believe, they will drive her into the ground and they will collapse the case because they do not want to take on a high-profile defendant with a high-profile defense team. So we now have a conversation for a pretty long time. Could we move forward with the investigation without notifying the Manhattan DA's office? Can we gather information, get to a point of having beyond a reasonable doubt an effective arrest without telling anybody? And it came to the conclusion, a very intense conversation that lasted 10 minutes, that I said to Austin, I won't survive if we don't notify him. Vance at the time, I believe, had a close relation with Bratton. Vance just gave $100 million over to Jessica Tisch for cell phones. I said, Austin, we're not going to survive it. I won't survive this. Please notify Bashford. So he calls her. It went well. She says, okay, keep me posted. That night, we were able to do a control phone call to Weinstein where he admits touching the breast. After the control phone call, Ambra collapses in tears, just from the stress of it all, just from the trauma of it all. The next day, we set up a control meet. We tried to do a control meet that night. We're not able to. We set up a control meet the next day. In my 8 years in special victims, about 100,000 special victims cases, we only did about 10 control meets. Why do we have a control meet here? Not because of Harvey Weinstein. We had no animus towards Weinstein, because of Cy Vance, because we reasonably believed he wouldn't go forward, and we did not trust him. So we're trying to compel him with as much evidence as possible. I gave the order to build the largest quantity of beyond a reasonable doubt possible. Probable cause beyond a reasonable doubt have volume to them. You can get larger amounts of beyond a reasonable doubt, small amounts of beyond a reasonable doubt. So the purpose of the control call was basically to compel Cy Vance. And the control call is just outstanding. It's one of the most successful ones I've ever done. I mean the control meet. And that's what you hear in the part of you hear in the Ronan Farrell article that appears in October 10th, 2017 in the New Yorker magazine. We wind up, so we report that to Martha Basford, how the day's going on that Saturday, the following day, the 28th. And then we bring her in. Then we bring Weinstein in. We drag him out of the Tribeca Grand Hotel. We bring him over to the 9th Precinct. I head over to the 9th Precinct. I'm working Saturday. I go with one of my sergeants, and we attempt to interrogate him. As we're bringing him in from the Tribeca Grand Hotel, he's in the back seat, threatening my detectives, yelling at them, saying, you're corrupt. I know Bill Bratton. I got his cell phone number. I'm going to get you fired. As we take him home that night, we drive him back to his office tactically. That's an investigative tactic to take him home. My detectives wanted me to throw him out the front door of the station house. I wouldn't do that. We put him in the back of the OMP tactically to see if he makes any spontaneous statements as we're driving him home with the same threats, with the same arrogance. And we build a rock solid case. So that we build this rock solid case, that the evidence is immense. Let me read the evidence to you.
Of course, I love. We have to inform the low information people that may not be, cognizant of all of this.
So some of the evidence is as follows. Ambra immediately fled after being assaulted, immediately outcried, immediately reported to the police, outcried consistently to a total of 7 outcry witnesses. Outcry witnesses are very probative in a sexual assault investigation. We obtained knowledge of 2 prior bad act witnesses during the investigation. Ambra was witnessed to be distraught by at least 5 witnesses. We obtained the probe to control a call. We obtained the probe to control meet. Ambra collapsed in tears after completing the control phone call. Ambra was on video fleeing in distress from Weinstein's office minutes after being assaulted. The foregoing is coupled with Ambra being assaulted within minutes after meeting Weinstein, a clear sexual motivation for the assault, and the offender having a clear sexual predatory tone in his voice during the control meet. Ambra was deemed to be credible, and statements were allowed by the special victim detective, the special victim lieutenant, the special victim chief. And later on, we actually ran the evidence by an NYPD attorney who we put on the investigative team. We have vastly more evidence in this case than Bragg currently has on the Weinstein trial going on right now. For the record, though, Ambra was also deemed credible and reliable by the Los Angeles County District Attorney George Gascon and the Los Angeles County Senior Sex Crime Prosecutor, Deputy District Attorney Paul Thompson, in which she was flown out to Los Angeles and she testified as a prior bad act witness, including my detective testified out in Los Angeles, including 2 of my outcry witnesses testified in Los Angeles. So you can see the volume of the evidence that we acquired, and at the end, no prosecution.
Yeah, that one's got my head. I can't figure it, because if everything was so rock solid that Los Angeles used it and had no problem with everything, and everything went smooth over there, why did New York City say, "Oh, we have a problem, we can't do this here"?
Exactly. It makes no sense whatsoever. And again, this isn't a matter of opinion. Both of us, between the 2 of us as like a law and order, match, I guess, we have been in this industry, if you will, for our entire careers. I am telling you, as a prosecutor, there's no way, we were just marveling over this yesterday, right? Sal, in 2015, I was a sex crimes prosecutor.
Yeah, you were.
Brooklyn, right? So I said to Ambra, if this had happened 1 mile away, right? If this had happened just over the bridge instead of in Manhattan, she could have been my complainant. This could have been my case. And I told her yesterday, I said, with all that I've reviewed and everything that we've seen here, if this case came across my desk in 2015, I don't see how I would ever want to or be able to decline prosecution. There's no possible way. The amount of evidence is insane.
Now,
so it's crazy.
Yeah, I would now start to look at, as you know, the political side of this. So just so people know here, with the people that they're mentioning that are involved, as we know, Bill Bratton was the former police commissioner at that time as a police commissioner. Let me just tell you, the guy is now, today, we came to learn, he's a little bit of he's lobbying, I believe. He's very close to the Tisches. Yes. He's also a political operative. Remember in 2015 into 16, he doesn't have Donald Trump go to a roll call for the New York City Police Department to speak to the troops, but he lets his friend Hillary Clinton do that. So he's a little bit of a Clinton guy. Who's Harvey Weinstein? Well, we know he's a movie mogul, big guy in Hollywood. He used to have I guess now he lost everything. He had a big production company, big guy. But what is he also? He's entrenched in the Democrat Party. See, there's a picture of Mr. Bratton and Harvey Weinstein. But Mr. Harvey Weinstein's entrenched in the Democratic machine. He's donated to numerous political candidates. And if you didn't know this, there's something called the Mayor's Fund in New York City. And it's this big organization. And I actually pulled up the documents for that to show who's on that, who's in that organization, because it started, I believe, in 2011 under Mike Bloomberg. And Mr. Weinstein is also part of that from 2011 on. But right here, as you can tell, he's in there. look, you look at the names, Soros and Jonathan M. Tish. Oh, yeah, that's one of Jessica Tish's family members are in there, who at the time, she worked in a police department. As you know, Mr. Osgood did bring her up, and she was part of that whole cell phone, smartphone technology in the New York City Police Department. We then later on learned that in these lawsuits now with all these victims suing, Tish James, who's the Attorney General, as we know, we've heard a lot about her recently. She decides to agree to a settlement. In that settlement, which was about $19 million, they agreed to pay the lawyer fees and everything for Weinstein. Essentially, the victims, she is silencing them by giving them peanuts. Okay, that's Tish James, who's part of the same Democratic machine, who's the Attorney General of New York State, and is clearly associated with all these people, who also has done what? Here it is. James retired the proposed $19 million settlement in June, had promised attorneys for victims who were not represented in a class action suit that she would not accept a deal that benefited Weinstein and his brother, Bob Weinstein, said Thomas Giuffrea, who represents accuser Alexandra Canosa. So essentially, she's silencing victims. Everyone believe all victims here, except if they are, accusing the people that are surrounding you or friends with you. And then we also, not to drift too far off, she's also accused of doing things, covering things up. She's involved in her own scandals lately. And of course, there's a whole question about that whole human trafficking report that was taken up there in the Bronx, in a shady place there with her mob associate pal. And she's standing there, and so is the police commissioner. Again, the New York City Police Department's behind it. So there's a history of the police department not only covering things up, but being involved. Now, when we say New York City Police Department, let's not say the police officer that shows up to the scene. Let's say executive level, police commissioner, first deputy commissioner, chief of department, chief of patrol. Mr. Osgood knows what I'm talking about here. These people who are chummy with the upper echelon and the higher ups, I believe, political powerhouses in New York City, whether they be attorneys, donors, this plays into your case because it all ties in. Because I don't know if you even knew about the Tish James thing and the fact that they're all in this mayor's fund together. And that goes back it's every mayor. It's Bloomberg, de Blasio, and then now it's with Eric Adams and his wonderful administration. So this all ties in to what happened here. Because I believe I heard you mention, Bill Brown mentioned also Rudy Giuliani at this time was the attorney for Harvey Weinstein. And if you don't know, he's associated with his current attorney, Artie Idal, who happens to be very chummy with Eric Adams, had fundraisers, now acts like he doesn't know him. And he's also good with Andrew Cuomo, another guy accused of sexual harassment and stuff. So this is, if you really could go into, you're going down a rabbit's hole, but clearly I see something there. So I think, I'm trying to paint a better picture for it. There's Harvey Weinstein with Rudy Giuliani, who I saw also he's involved in this case.
Yes, he is. So the day that Harvey Weinstein gets questioned, when Osgood's team brings him in for questioning, and it pisses off Weinstein, and Weinstein finds out who's actually accusing him, the next day, that's it. It's over. The whole thing is over because Weinstein collects all of his people, his machine, if you will, into his office, and they basically have like a war room strategy session. And that included Rudy Giuliani. It included a bunch of high-profile attorneys, potentially an investigative team as well. And essentially, they were employed to kill Ambra's entire reputation and credibility, infiltrate with the NYPD and the DA's office, and essentially kill the case. And that's what happened. The very next day, there's an article in the New York Post about this incident. And the quotes, right? The quotes in the Post that came from unnamed sources in the NYPD were, "This case is BS. She's a gold digger. There's no merit to it." Okay. Meanwhile, like the real cops that are investigating the case, Osgood and his team, are still like building the case and preparing an arrest. Like, those quotes that came from PD had to have come from higher up with the Harvey Weinstein infiltration. So immediately in the media, she's getting tarnished. And then immediately after that, Martha Bashford at the DA's office, because I saw somebody ask, why did the DA's office, like, what was the reason that they gave to not prosecute?
Yeah.
Ultimately, they said, oh, she's just not credible. And that's crazy because she is credible, first of all. Second of all, she didn't need to be credible because you have Harvey Weinstein's confession recorded on a wire and his attempts to get her into the hotel recorded on the wire. But three, the reason they claim that she's not credible is because they then send out their own little team of DIs, the detective investigators at the Manhattan DA's office. They start trying to dig up stuff on Ambra. They go to her apartment, they talk to her roommates, they pull surveillance video from her home to like try to catch her taking men home. None of it happened. They couldn't find one damn thing against her. The only thing they found, and you're gonna, like, I died from the irony here because of how they twisted it. The only thing they were able to dig up was that when Ambra was 18, she won the Miss Italy pageant. And therefore, she was invited to the prime minister's parties. And she and another girl arrived at the party and observed like sexual assaults happening or sexual misconduct happening. She saw it happen. And she reported the prime minister. She even got the prime minister convicted because she testified so credibly at his trial. But what does the DA see when they uncovered that she was at that party? She's a prostitute. That's what they got from it. And so they were like, she's not credible. She's a prostitute. She was at the party. They did no real, investigation into why she was there and what kind of hero she was standing up against a strong man who was taking advantage of his position of power and sexually abusing women. It actually tracks completely with what happened with Harvey Weinstein. Why would you question her knowing that she's already done it once successfully against the prime minister and she was truthful then? Why would she be lying now? And why would she be afraid to step out and say the truth now? So that was the false, reason that they gave, that she was not credible. And it makes no sense. It doesn't tie in with her character or the evidence that was collected and presented.
So Sal, during the 15 days of the investigation, the cycle time was 15 days. I had 25 detectives deployed on it. We were going 24/7. We had a security team on her apartment building. I had 3 of Weinstein's residences under surveillance with the directions from my detectives. If you think he's fleeing, arrest him. We had 13 Bank Street under surveillance, 99 Jane Street in Lower Manhattan. And we had his mansion up in Connecticut, Westport, Connecticut, 26 Beachside Avenue, under surveillance. And so one of the things we did was I brought a detective on who was fluent in the northern Italian, in the northern dialect of Italian, highly fluent.
Maybe it was Sal.
And so one of the things we did was we spoke to the Milan attorney who was a part of the prosecution. And then we also got a copy of her testimony on the Milan trial of the so-called Bunga Bunga party. And we translated that transcript from Italian into English. Her testimony was remarkable. There was nothing negative. She was heroic. And so our investigation was extensive. We deployed, we did numerous steps, numerous things. But in translating the testimony, her Bunga Bunga party testimony 5 years earlier, she did nothing wrong. She was heroic. She was a witness to criminality. So to use that against her is just false. And so, and even if it was, that's irrelevant. 5 years later, it's not a fact in this instant matter. Over the years, I've made arrests and we brought prosecutions in all 5 counties of victims who are prostitutes, victims who are drug addicts, victims who were severe alcoholics, victims who had severe mental illnesses, sex workers. They are the most vulnerable class because they're in the marginalized area and they're easy to exploit. So it's irrelevant what you may or may not be. It was irrelevant what her past status was, which wasn't a prostitute. So this is what we had to contend with. if you go out to the LA trial in November 7, 2022, I go out to LA to sit in the trial, to support Ambra and to let her know special victims did the right thing. So I fly out to Los Angeles. I am now in the courtroom, and I listen to the testimony and the cross-examination of Ambra, of the assigned case detective Rosita Williams, of the 9th Precinct Desk Officer, who's now a Lieutenant Della Universitia, and one of the outcry witnesses, Robbie Hoffman. All of them testified superbly. On cross-examination from the defense team, from the LA 2022 Weinstein defense team, not once they didn't bring up that, isn't it true the Manhattan DA's office failed to prosecute, chose not to prosecute? Isn't it true they deemed you not credible? Isn't it true that you were a prostitute? Isn't it true? They didn't bring any of that up because they know it's not true. They know it's not true because part of the discovery process is the LA prosecutor had to hand over a case. So besides subpoenaing my victim and witnesses out to LA, they also got a complete copy of the 2015 special victims case and all its artifacts. They had to hand that over to the Weinstein defense team. So they saw the depth of the DD5s. They heard the control call, the control meet, the video. And so in sitting out there in Los Angeles, I watched my evidence get presented in open court. Now, as you go into the investigative evolution as the detective commander, the assigned detective, you're not seeing your evidence presented to you. What you're doing is you're checking off in your head, okay, do we have a predicate identification? Do we have a criminal identification check? Do we have a probable cause check? Do we have a beyond a reasonable doubt check? Okay, we got a prosecutable case. So you're going through this checklist in your head as the information is coming in, but sitting in Los Angeles Superior Court at 210 Temple Street on November 7th, 8th, and 9th, on the 8th floor, watching my evidence be presented, it was stunning. It was stunning. What George Gascon does, the DA, he takes the audio of the control meet and synthesizes it, synchronizes it with the video we pulled from the Tribeca Grand Hotel. It was stunning. It was just a feat of prosecutorial genius.
And it's what the Manhattan DA could have done themselves. Yeah. Had they, they could have just done the exact same thing. I'm curious, like, I want to give Ambra a place to kind of speak on her own. I'm curious how she felt dealing with the LA prosecutors versus the Manhattan prosecutors.
Yeah.
Right?
I was very surprised that the LA DA were super supportive, were on my side in everything. I was expecting also questions during, the trial. There were like the ones that Martha Bashford did to me back in 2015, like, are you a prostitute or things like that? And it did not happen. I was really traumatized by that situation because I thought that you really had to go through some sort of things like that to prove that you're truthful. And I was surprised that in LA it did not happen. So I was thinking, is this the way that actually has to be handled when you have to, try and find the truth of things and speak of your truth? So I saw a very big difference. And I really hope that this is going to be the way that the future is going to be here for victims of this type of crimes, because it needs to be done better. I can say it's not easy to speak about this stuff. And, already someone that has the strength to do it needs to be supported all the way up. And I grew up in Italy watching a lot of American police TV series. And, like the fact that I went right away to the police is because I believed in the system. And I still do believe that amazing people are working in it. And that's why I decided to do my best and everything to just make that a simple job. And instead, I was let down. So hopefully I can make a change right now with you guys.
I find this odd though, because I'm like So, Ambra, I don't know if you know, I've been victimized as I'm a police officer. I was a police officer. I was victimized by the same system. They do the same thing to everybody, whether it seems that they love to smear people. What evidence do you know of does anybody say you are a prostitute? Who, where is this come from? Because it looks like it's picked up out of thin air to me. There's no evidence of you doing anything like that, right?
Yeah, the question was out of nowhere because my answer was like, have you heard the recordings? And also, why are you asking this to me? Like, it doesn't make sense. And so, yeah, they take out the documentation from the Italian prime minister case. And I don't know if they couldn't understand what was going on in there, but I testify against him. I was brought to this party without even my knowledge because my agent brought me and my other colleague. And when we left, so basically the situation was like, you participate to these parties and you become famous in Italy. I did not have any type of career after that night. And I believe of myself to be an okay model. I mean, I got to New York and I have other talents as well. So how come I don't have a career in Italy? I, find difficulties to even find a job after, of course, they also destroyed my reputation because the ex-prime minister was also the owner of all the medias in Italy. And I had to flee the country. I mean, I was happy that I left Italy because then I ended up in New York, but then I did not expect that something worse would have happened after. And that's also why I collaborated so much with the police, because I wanted to give him enough proof, or the most of that I could have done, because I didn't want to repeat the same story where also in Italy, they tried the best to discredit me, and I was just starting my life as an 18 years old person.
Listen, my heart goes out to I know that feeling, and it's something that in the NYPD, they love to. That's what they like to do. Like that. This is my story. That I would. They clearly. I'm a MAGA guy, therefore we got to smear Sal Greco. Like they have a trend, and the big question here, I'm wondering, that goes to you, Mike and Sarena. Do you think the mayor's office had anything to do with this case and how it went? Because clearly with that mayor's fund, and you have little connections there, Weinstein, the CEO of Robin Hood's on that as well. You got Tish's family, the cousin involved, and it's the mayor's fund. And there's real estate people, and Harvey's a powerful guy. So do you think at all, is there anything, any evidence, anything you could think of that could show, or you have an inkling saying the mayor's office had some, was involved?
So we have a lot of information. We have a lot of evidence that we can't tell you all, and we want to give to the Southern District. And what we're asking for is a neutral and impartial, deep dive, fully exhausted, penetrative, public corruption investigation assisted by a grand jury. That's what we're asking. We want the truth. But I can tell you some key things. As we're bringing Weinstein in from the Tribeca Grand Hotel, he's in the backseat shooting his mouth off, threatening my detective, my lieutenant. He tells us he's donated millions of dollars to the NYPD. Now, what we believe that to be is the New York City Police Foundation. That's what we believe. And the Los Angeles Police Foundation. He also says when we approach him in the lobby of the Tribeca Grand Hotel, he says he knows Bill Bratton. He's going to call Bill Bratton and he's going to stop us. And my lieutenant Greco quickly lies to him and says, "Don't you think we already spoke to Bill Bratton?" Which wasn't true. And he became quiet, and we stuck him in the police car. So we believe he was more than likely a big donor to the New York City Police Foundation and the LA Police Foundation. He obviously had a relationship with Bill Bratton. We also found out in the last several years, and I believe it to be true, and it's reliable information, that Clinton called Bill Bratton during this time frame to attempt to influence him. We believe that to be true. Why? Because unbeknownst to us in 2015, Weinstein was a large Democratic bungler. He had a very close relationship with the Clintons. With Obama, he had numerous fundraisers at his mansion in Westport, Connecticut, that we had under surveillance. He's bundled and donated millions of dollars to the Democratic Party. That's fine. You know, that's his choice. That's fine. And so Bill Brown had a close relationship with the Clintons. That Bill Brown left the NYPD and went to a Clinton-based company called Teneo. And there's a lot more to this. There's a lot more to this. What I believe, what I reasonably believe, based on my information and the facts of this case and stuff, is that Weinstein was able to both influence both the Matt DA's office and the NYPD to stop the prosecution in many different ways, and that's what has to be investigated. And there's a lot more to this. You probably heard that I hit Ambra. I don't know if you read that during the course of the event, I actually hit her in a confidential hotel. So it's somewhat about the 5th day of the investigation. My detectives come to me and says, "Chief, everywhere we go, the paparazzi knows where we're going." They use the term paparazzi. Now, what they didn't know is for the previous 5 days, I'm having serious trouble with Police Plaza. I can't tell you everything, but I'm not getting any support. I'm being told she's a gold digger. I was also directed not to bring Weinstein in originally. That there are other things going on. There's a retired detective who has a relationship. Used to work with Bernie Kerik, is trying to penetrate the investigation. There's numerous things going on that I don't like. Once I get that statement, I said, okay, I had enough. I ordered my detectives to hire them in a confidential hotel under a fictitious name to protect her. Once again, we don't trust Cy Vance. We don't trust Cy Vance. That from the conversation I had with Lieutenant Moran's. Also, in the first couple of days, I had numerous conversations with Manhattan Special Victims Sergeant Mike Bach, was our best detective supervisor in the Special Victim Division. Had at least 10 conversations where Mike Bach said to me, "Chief, you got to protect her. They're going to destroy her." At least 10 times. He was in Manhattan Special Victims for at least 10 years. He knew, he understood this, he knew it. And I used to go to Mike, I don't know what to do. Mike, I don't know what to do. And so I hired her. 2 days later, Cy Vance and Mark DeBesser sends 2 of their own detectives to her house to do this background investigation, this discriminating acquisition of evidence investigation. They don't do that to Harvey Weinstein. If they did, they would have tripped over a load of past transgressions. They do it to her. They try to pull video from the 9th precinct, from the 1st precinct. They go to her agent's house. They're doing a counter investigation on her. And so 2 days later, when I hear that, I immediately told my detectives to move her, to relocate her to a different hotel under a fictitious name. I don't tell One Police Plaza because I don't trust them. So you can see what's going on. You can see that there is sufficient evidence to say there's a cover-up. There's a lot more to this. Like, we can't tell you all, but we need an impartial public corruption investigation by the Southern District.
Well, I like how you said that. You need an investigation in the Southern District. Now, just to mention just a little bit of something me and Sarena always talk about. Now, Sarena, do you think you're going to get it in a Southern District where we just had the current mayor who should have been, what's today? It's now May 1st. He should have been on trial for the last 2 weeks in regards to a sprawling investigation into there's so much corruption underneath this mayor and his police department that we can't keep up. It's like every 5 minutes there's something new. The Southern District dismissed that case. And it wasn't even the Southern District. It was from outside influence, and that was Washington, D.C. It's unbelievable because no matter who's the president, it seems that it's the same things seem to always happen. It's all political. How do you feel about that, knowing, do you think, Sarena, the Southern District is actually going to do the right thing and be serious here when we just saw that what they did with Eric Adams? And speaking of him tomorrow, by the way, all his little evidence, everything's supposed to be released by the court, by Judge Ho. So take it away, Sarena.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong to ask that question. I'm sufficiently worried. But Sal, we're running out of doors to knock on. And that's really what it comes down to. We can't have the Manhattan DA's office investigate it because we're asking them to investigate themselves. We can't have the AG investigate it because that was a non-starter already, that there was an investigation that started and then it was paused, but that pause has never been unpaused. And so we now need to go kind of to a higher threshold because we need to investigate almost not only the NYPD and the Manhattan DA, but they also are going to need to take whatever happened in the AG's investigation and why that investigation stopped. So it's true. There's just this threat of corruption throughout. And it's not like I'm sitting here thinking, oh, the SDNY is so heroic. They're definitely going to do the right thing. It's just that we're running out of options. And we want very badly. That's why we are so aggressively putting the evidence out there into the public, because it's one thing for, SDNY to drop Mayor Adams's case. We think we know a lot about what the evidence was in his case. We feel like there was enough evidence there. It seemed to me there was certainly enough evidence there to proceed. But one might be able to argue one way or another, all right, there wasn't enough or whatever it is. Maybe they could find some sort of argument to rely on. Here, there's literally no reason why there wouldn't have been a prosecution. There's no opinion. It's black and white. And that's why we're not just demanding it and saying nothing. We put a lot of information in our demand letter, and we're continuing to educate the public through your program and with the press conference yesterday. We're educating people to the levels of evidence that existed so that nobody could turn around and say, you know what, it was discretionary and we understand why they didn't proceed. There's no possible way to understand it. And so we're hoping that the public pressure will prevent the Southern District from just going blind about this and not taking this on.
Yeah, that's my only fear, because there's three of us here that actually prosecuted people, arrested people, charged people, and we didn't look at who they voted for and all that. But very clearly here in this case, unfortunately, Ambra, I believe this is political because they made it political. You're a victim. You have nothing to do with this Hillary Clinton and Tish James and whatever these people are doing. But they made your case political because they butted in and said, well, yeah, this might have happened, but it's no good for politics. It's not good for business. So let's go in there and try to destroy it, which New York City is known to do. I mean, they have a history of it. And now people say bad things about LA as well. But in this instance, Mr. Gascon, who was a district attorney there, and the mayor there, they stepped aside and said, this is what it is, and we're going to go through with it. Here's the evidence. We have a case. Let's put this on trial and let everyone decide. The jury will decide Harvey Weinstein's fate. They didn't start calling Clinton or whoever, or Newsom, whoever's the governor out there in California. Oh, we can't do this. Because remember, Weinstein's also in that camp. So I find it strange how Los Angeles treated it differently than New York City. But I thought justice is in that, it's supposed to be, one justice for all, not justice just for certain people.
Yeah, I don't want to take anything away from LA at all, but keep in mind just the timing of all of this. When Ambra came out about this in New York, people were still silent about Harvey Weinstein. People were still very afraid to talk about him. And it was a known secret in Ambra's world, but it didn't trickle out into the world. It wasn't popular to get behind this idea that he's a predator. By the time LA got it, and again, I'm not taking away from them, it still took a lot of guts to go against him. But I think it was less difficult to be vocally anti-Harvey Weinstein by the time that case rolled around. Ambra is a trailblazer on this.
I would say so. Yeah, go ahead.
In March of 2021, Andrew Cuomo directs Letitia James to reopen the investigation of Vance Special Victims Handling of the 2015 case. He initiated one in March of 2018, but very quietly he closed it in June of 2018. I want to know why. I'll give Andrew Cuomo the benefit of the doubt of the June 2018 thing, but I don't like that. It was quietly closed in June 2018. But after Weinstein's convicted in New York in 2020, November, December 2020, that in January, February of 2021, Andrew Cuomo directed Letitia James to open up an investigation of Vance and their special victims, NYPD handled in 2015. So what Letitia James does is she hires an outside investigative company because they told me, because James was a Democrat, Vance was a Democrat, fine, she wanted a neutral mechanism, which was good, I have to give her credit. So she hires a company called T&M Security. T&M Security is owned by one Robert Tucker. Robert Tucker is the fire commissioner.
Yes.
He's also the treasurer of the New York City Police Foundation, in which Harvey Weinstein donates to. We believe donated to, but we don't know because the donation record of the police foundation is secret. In any event, they put a deputized investigative team together. It's led by Julia Swartz, former department advocate in NYPD, and Sergeant Martin Gleason. I know them both. They put in a deputized investigative team and they start going to work. I hear about this and I call the state AG and I say, I'd like to speak to them. I want to know why too, what happened. I don't know what happened. And so I now go into the deputized investigative team, 2 separate times, 3 hours each. I bring them documents. I give them those documents. I sit and answer their questions. It's clear to them they know there's something wrong. It's clear to them they're upset. I tell them a whole bunch of people to interview. Most of the special victims team from 2015 after retired voluntarily went and to be interrogated by them. I was questioned by 2 or 3 attorneys for a total of 6 hours, 2 hours both separate times. I came later in. The deputized investigative team was doing, T&M Security was doing very well. So March, April, May, June, July, August, they're climbing the investigative curve. Come August, they are doing very well. I'm getting feedback. I'm speaking to many of the people who were interviewed. Most of my team wants to know what happened. And they're doing very well. It's clear they're bothered. It's clear they're onto something. Andrew Cuomo resigns as governor. Kathy Hochul becomes the governor. And in September of 2021, Kathy Hochul shuts the investigation down. I want to know why. And I want the Southern District to find out why. Kathy Hochul is silent on this. She's silent.
But she loves to be sold for victims, Mike. You didn't know that? She believes all victims too, apparently.
So that's why we need a Southern District public corruption, total investigation, because we don't know what the truth is. And the cover-up's been ongoing for 10 years.
Yeah.
We want the truth. Don't believe me. Go find the truth.
Yeah.
I might be wrong. I don't think so, but find the truth.
No.
So that's what we're asking for. Let's find the truth.
You just met Andrew Cuomo. This guy, so he's running for mayor right now. And here's more politics involved again, because he opens this up in 2021. I want this investigation quietly closed. You have Tish James, who then turns around and starts going after Andrew Cuomo. And he's got his whole, he's little handsy there with the females he comes into contact because he's Italian, apparently. But he has this whole COVID scandal that he was involved with all of that happened with the hospitals and how he mishandled that whole thing. And now, again, this is what a web. The Southern District of New York, who dismissed Eric Adams' case because he can't do his job as mayor and we can't interfere in his campaign running for it. Now they're getting criminally referred for Andrew Cuomo's prosecution because he lied to Congress a year and a half ago, and they didn't decide to do anything about it right away. They want to do it right now, so they end his campaign. So you see again, Mike, it's like you spin this around. It's all political. There's nothing that's being done by the face of it, like we know, saying there's a crime. This is what occurred. This is what we need to do. They're just saying this one's connected to that one. This we could use in a campaign against this buddy. This thing happened. Well, we're gonna wait because they might run for office, and that's what they're doing. Here's something he did. More than 9,000 recovering coronavirus patients were released from hospitals into nursing homes under the directive, which was rescinded, and speculation that it had accelerated outbreaks. This is Andrew Cuomo. This is all underneath him as governor, and now he wants to be mayor, and he's got this should be right in the middle. I hate to say this is use this in a political sense, but what you're asking for should be used in saying, what do you know, Mr. Cuomo? Hey, Tish James, I know you got a lot of problems. You apparently, married your father or something, whatever you did there to get your mortgage rates. But what did you do with this? Because you said they tabled it. And then she helped Weinstein along because they got that settlement. So she covered that up, much like she covers up or potentially, allegedly covered up the human trafficking up there in the Bronx at her favorite nightclub. So it is a pattern here, Mike, and it's also the police department in behind it. They're involved as well. The NYPD, and then you mentioned Police Foundation, Police Commissioner. Recently, we had who? Eddie Caban is a police commissioner. This other guy was there for 2 seconds, Tom Donlan, another complete failure. He was raided by the feds. It's like never ending. It's for me and Sarena, we always discuss this, and it goes around in a circle. And now you have something from 10 years ago, which proves once again, this has been going on for longer than Eric Adams has been in office, but it's all, and there it is. There's the self-admitted criminal mob associate. He knows everybody there on the left, Mr. Jimmy Rodriguez. But this is the whole thing, right? This has been going on for decades. It's not just a now problem. It's an institutional problem.
Yeah, what's old is new.
Sal, you're 100% correct. John McCary and Eric Dim have mentioned it several times, and I agree with them. What I believe has to be done, I'm speaking to Adrian Adams right now, the Speaker of the City Council, 3 things have to be done. Because what we've seen over the last 10 years, not just this 2015 case, but the NYPD criminally obstructing the Department of Investigation back in 2018, the Special Victims Investigation, the O'Neill using the counterterrorism plane, favors going out in the applicant processing division, stuff with Eddie Caban up at Subconsul Freedom, whatever he was doing, and all the other stuff. What's needed is local law 70 has to be modified. The New York City Police Department needs a fully independent, non-mayoral inspector general with penetrative authority that can find the truth and also force creative destructionism. Creative destructionism is to force continuous improvement, not having to reform every 10, 15, 20 years. The other thing that has to happen, which I truly believe, is a board of directors has to be placed on top of the police commissioner. No large-scale organization does anybody do what they want. The CEO of the Fortune 5,000, Fortune 10,000 company, they all have board of directors sitting over them, forcing that CEO to think with measured and with discipline. If you see what's gone on the last 10 years with police commissioners, it's absurd. No police commissioner, no mayor can control the police commissioner. It's too hard. The mayor has 13, 14 agencies to do, and that's assuming you have a managerial competent mayor. It's clear both de Blasio and Eric Adams have no clear managerial advanced skill. It's clear. It doesn't have to be debated. And even if you do have an advanced managerial skill as the mayor or super educated and bright, it's too difficult. They need a board of directors to sit over the police commissioner to force out the police commissioner to act with measure and with discipline. And then the third thing is, John McCary mentioned this, and I now believe this for what I've learned and what I've seen myself, is the internal affairs should be in the external affairs, because the internal affairs is controlled by the police commissioner. And no chief of internal affairs is going to be tough enough to investigate the police commissioner or to say no to the police commissioner. And I hate to say all that, because you and I lived in that organization and we were part of that mental model, that operational model. But it's clear from this and from what we've seen in the last decade that those 3 things have to change. Those 3 things have to be implemented. You have to do them correctly. It cannot be done politically. You have to do them with great skill, but they can be done. And the reason why they need to be done is not just for the citizen, but also for the frontline police officer. In this whole conversation, no one is discussing the frontline police officer. When you deploy police officers incorrectly in the George Floyd protest, who gets in trouble? The frontline police officer, not the chiefs, right? Who got in trouble during the Stop, Question, and Frisk debacle? Not the chiefs who forced the Stop, Question, and Frisk, is the frontline police officer. And so these mechanisms aren't just for the citizens, they will also benefit the frontline police officer. Let me tell you the damage done in this case. Let me read to you what I wanted to read yesterday. I didn't get a chance. The subsequent cover-up caused significant damage. It violated the trust of a sexual assault victim, failed to deliver justice for a sexual assault victim, damaged the reputation and life of a sexual assault victim, extensively traumatized the sexual assault victim, damaged the integrity of NYPD, damaged the trust special victims had in the Manhattan DA's office, allowed Mr. Weinstein to continue with his predatory behavior if he chooses to, and discouraged other sexual assault victims from coming forward. I believe it also forced Vance, in order to save himself from his conduct of 2014, to throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at Weinstein in the 2020 New York trial, resulting in the 2020 conviction being successfully appealed. Vance and Bratton, in the top brass of the NYPD, allowed the Weinstein juggernaut to destroy Ambra. They destroyed her, Sal. They destroyed her. And set the condition during the second Weinstein investigation, which I was a part of in 2017, 2018, that the investigative team did not trust Vance and his staff, thus negatively hurting the second Weinstein investigation. When the second investigation kicks off, so in October of 2017, two blockbuster articles come out, one by Joey Kent and Meg Toomey in the New York Times, the other one by Ronan Fowler in the New Yorker magazine, which basically exposed Weinstein as a sexual predator. When those two things break open, we initiate a second investigation on Weinstein. And so within a week or so, or 2 weeks or so into it, that I called the commanding officer of the legal bureau, the Deputy Chief Carrie Sweet, and I petitioned him to petition O'Neill, to petition Andrew Cuomo, to remove Cy Vance from that second Weinstein investigation and replace him with a special prosecutor, because we didn't trust him. Now, we don't know yet. Special victim doesn't know yet about the NYPD involvement in the 2015 cover-up. We don't know yet. We think it's all Vance. We're blaming Vance. And so we wanted him replaced. I got denied. At the same time, an attorney, Carrie Goldberg, who represented one of our earlier victims in 2017, Lucia Evans, went to Andrew Cuomo's office twice and asked that Vance be removed from the Weinstein investigation and a special prosecutor placed on it. That should have been done. So you can see the damage, but the damage to Ambra, I don't want to speak for her, but Ambra went into a depression. She had to change her name. She had to flee the country. No men would date her because they thought she was a rape liar. It damages her career. She lost 3 or 4 years of modeling. Her career is still damaged because she's 3 or 4 years behind the curve. She also is still scared. Like, now you can ask her yourself, she's still scared. This is absurd. This is freaking absurd what they've done to this young lady. Absurd.
And it goes to what I always said, that they don't care whose lives they ruined, especially in the NYPD. Anybody on top over there really could care less. Mayor, governor, you name it, they only do what benefits themselves. So you're right, Ambra. How do you feel today? Because I'm sure it's very hard for you to do anything because you're slandered, you've been smeared, you've been through all of this. I'm sure you get the snickers when you walk by because people, we know who she is. I can only imagine what that feels like, but tell us how you feel.
I repeat myself that there is always a reason for things to happen in life. So I think that since when we met, me and the chief, and everything is reopening again, it's maybe to find the right way to close this, and I'm happy to help. Like, I just wanted to do it because I still feel that victims are not being handled in the right way, especially if there is some side that they want to be into in New York. And it was just funny earlier when I heard that the lawyer of Weinstein in 2015 was calling me a gold digger, because at the time I remember they were trying to buy my silence with an NDA, and my lawyer was coming to me all the time saying, like, they're offering $100,000, and I said, I don't care, I don't want anything. They went up to 300, 750. I still said no, I don't care. They went up to $1 million, and I still said no, I don't care. From the lawyers of his side, and also from the media. The media was trying to buy my silence. They wanted to buy myself some way to, like, make this go away. And I just wanted to pursue justice somehow. And I ended up signing an NDA at the end, because I remember that my brother in Italy, that I have no idea how, it was found to question, called me and said that somebody went to his job in a remote city in Italy, let's say, and they had an American accent, and they were asking about me. And it got me really, 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 really concerned. And I remember like calling my lawyer with, you know, like not having even voice in myself to say, just make this all go away, just sign whatever, like I need to, like I don't want anything to do with this anymore. But I signed, yes, the NDA, and I kept a copy of the recording for myself. So I still wanted to find the truth even after. And yes, my depression came up because I literally tried to do everything, and I still believed that I would find the truth somehow. And I don't know, deep inside now, I feel that I'm going to find the closure that I need. And I do believe that some people out there are going to do the right thing this time. So I'm vocal because I know that I want to help people in the future that are probably going to go, hopefully, not through the way that they treated me. And so, yeah, I really want my case to be the last one to be handled this way.
Well said.
Well said. And I hope that that's what happens here. I know what you heard today is going to be, you know, what you're hearing, like as far as all the political stuff I'm talking about. You're going to have to deal with that because they're going to make this political even now, because that's all these people ever do. It's really disgusting. I mean, John McCarry just said it in the chat. What they did is they re-victimize the victims. He says New York City re-victimized the victim, shielded a perpetrator. Absolutely disgraceful what was done to this young woman. That's what they did, you know. And I'm ashamed. I'm sorry. And I worked for this organization, NYPD. So did Michael. And but what we're coming to find out is it's really, really corrupt when it comes to the police commissioner's office and the underlings and people surrounding him, because you really don't know how deep their connections are to whoever it is, underworld, political figures. And, you know, we're out there doing our jobs as police officers, never knowing those guys are doing what. And you know, we do our job and then things get stonewalled. But I believe now we're on to something here. I think we're going to get to the bottom of this. I hope the Trump Justice Department does the right thing here, especially Southern District of New York, and try to correct themselves after the appalling decision they made in the last few months with Eric Adams. And I hope you could get some kind of result here and it starts something. Because now also, Sarena, I saw you have the website, investigatenyc.com. I don't even want to tell me about that.
Yeah, so we want as much transparency as possible. We're all about it. And so what we've done is we've created a website called www.investigatenyc.com. I was actually shocked that domain name was available. I love it. Hopefully it stays in people's minds because it's an easy thing to remember. And on that site, it'll be living and breathing, meaning we will continue to add updates as we uncover things, as things are happening. We're going to add our media spots. This show will, be linked as well. Everything that we know, the demand letter is up there. You can take action by signing the petition. If you go on that site, basically show your support to Ambra and essentially join us in the fight and try to get the Southern District to take this seriously and investigate it. But yes, please go to the site, investigatenyc.com, check it out. You'll have everything you need there.
That's perfect.
So
yeah, go ahead, Mike.
You just said something that I want to say this. Every day, tens of thousands of New York City police officers fight to stay honest. And as you know, when you step out of that radio car 30, 40 times a night, you can make a mistake and all of a sudden you find yourself in serious trouble. And when you're stepping out of that radio car day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, every single time you have to be on, you have to be alert, you have to stay honest. It's debilitating. But every day, tens of thousands of New York City police officers stay honest. These bastards couldn't. And they're sitting in the air-conditioned offices. They have drivers. It's clear what happened here. When we look at this and other people, it's clear what's happened here. It was a cover-up. And we want the full truth. And we want her fully exonerated.
I want the truth. I think me and Sarena are like crusaders when it comes to that. We want the truth. It's people demand that because that's how a functioning society should go forward. Not trying to hold things behind closed doors and do corrupt things on the side, then do really shady things in a nightclub and think nobody could see you or hear you, and that's the thing here, because I wore that uniform and I'm disgusted over what I'm hearing, because that's not how I would do things. That's not how I did things. That's not how John did things, or Eric, or Mike, or other people I know. But apparently we didn't even know how bad it was up top. So my heart goes out for you. And plus, Ambra is a paisan as well. And I feel that there's a slight tinge towards Italian and how they biased against us. People could go to IACRL.com and join the Italian American Civil Rights League if you want. But I'm saying this is the kind of stuff that bothers me. And we are trying to inform low information people so that you start learning about, especially when it comes to voting, because you need to know who you are voting for, because this matters. And everyone's voice matters, and everything that happens matters. People they lose track of that. And I see in the comments, Mikey, I don't know if you know Rob Lukash and Ron Layson. They speak very.
Yes, I know.
You know them, so they also have a show, Executive Perspective. There's Rob right there. See what he says. Totally agree. The big chief set the policy when it goes wrong, when the boots on the ground suffer. Exactly, Mike. So just to let you know, you got supporters out here, and at a certain point, you might have to either come back on my show on your own, or Defiance Unfiltered, or Executive Perspective, because
I'm happy to come back on and speak about all the garbage that's been going on in the last decade.
Yeah, it's just like a recurring theme. I don't know how to break this. I'm hoping that this could break it. So I implore everyone also go to investigatenyc.com, join the fight, and also support Ambra. And also, maybe you have a story. And if you have a story and something happened to you, maybe Sarena could pick up your case and add to it. Because and I also think that you shouldn't be silent. I think being upfront and vigilant, that's what matters. So what Ambra's doing, people should actually not only say that she's being courageous, but follow in her footsteps, because this is what it takes. There's a name and a face to what's going on, and that's Ambra. So people could sneak in right behind her and go, "Hey, this happened to me too," or "This happened. You know what? They did this to my friend," and that's how it starts. Because you can't change things just sitting there going, "Oh, well, my vote doesn't matter. My voice doesn't matter. Oh, they're going to shut me down." That's how I started years ago. All of what you're seeing today, I don't know if people know, Tish James, everything with, how that started? My termination and what I uncovered as I went along. I got laughed at in the beginning, by the way. Nobody's laughing now. Were they transcribing the show back in One Police Plaza? I hope they did today. Because
we have a lot in common with you, Sal, with the standing up for what's right and getting pushed out. We know what that's like.
Yeah, you know personally, especially with these infamous names who you mentioned a few of them. Robert Tucker, these guys are still involved today. So it's like a never-ending circle of cronyism that's going on. And I think you're doing a great job here. I'm gonna stay on top of this. I'm always here for you. Ambra, you might get shunned up in New York City. Come to South Florida with everybody here welcome with open arms. So over here, it's like the land of where you think you're a despot up in New York City. Here, you'll be a hero. So plus, there's a lot of Italians down here as well. I'm gonna keep throwing it out there. So in closing, is anywhere people could besides your website, could they follow you or reach out to you on social media or emails or anything like that?
Yes, we need as much as support that we can from the public for anything. Absolutely.
If you go on to Instagram, you'll see Ambra is on there. She has a ton of followers, as you might expect. But yeah, follow her, watch her stories, because she is a trailblazer and she is one to watch.
Definitely. I definitely became a follower. Mike as well. There's her Instagram. You could tell there's a lot in her stories. She's been posting a lot about this stuff. And people really, you should be supporting her and getting behind it, because that could be you. And that's the whole point. We don't want this to go any further, or feel that you're being victimized by someone who's quote unquote powerful and I can't do anything about it. That's kind of what just occurred also in the former chief of department's office, and people started smearing everyone. But again, it's an institutionalized problem, just like Mike has been describing. Guys,
Dad, you bring up a good point there, is that no one should be surprised that the chief of department, no one should be surprised what happened in 2015 when you have the chief of department, engaging in coercive penetrative anal sex on the 13th floor of One Police Plaza. No one should be surprised in any of this. It's the organizational internal behavior, it's the organizational culture. It's extremely ineffective internal affairs. There's no oversight, and so so it's time for all this to change.
And that's what I think you are. You're the agents of change. So,
You too, Sal.
guys, thank you for your time, especially Sarena. I'm going to have you back on to discuss some other things because there's other things. And I want anyone, you heard what I said in the beginning. If you have any kind of disability going on, discrimination, NYPD, anything, Sarena is your woman. Contact her. Call her. Go to what's the website for the law firm, Sarena?
TownsendLawNYC.com.
Please check that website out and give her a call if you've been discriminated against by the NYPD. Because trust me, you have a voice if you're on the job right now. Listen to what we just said in this whole show about how they handle things. They'll do the same to you. Look at me. I was in there. I got all these awards. And the minute something they can hit on you with, they say, oh, he's bad. Shun him. That one's bad. She's bad. That's what they do. And Sarena knows this best. Prosecutor. She also was a commissioner. Unfortunately, had to run into the esteemed, we haven't even mentioned him today, Tim Pearson. And then, of course, now as a legal counselor, okay? She knows the game. And I suggest you all give her a call if you have an issue with the police department or anything else, any other New York City issue that might be occurring. Guys, thank you very much. Ambra, thank you. I hope again, you have my support, anything you need. And of course, out here in Florida, everybody has open arms. It's not like New York City right now. And, Mike, you will be hearing from me. I think you need to come back on and we could go over a lot of the iniquities of the New York City Police Department, because you have a lot of good ideas that I like, and I'm sure John and Eric and Marlon would agree.
Yeah, once again, you, John McCary, Eric Dim, Marlon Betzel, Robert Lukash, Ron Layson, you're doing great work. You're forcing transparency. You are heroic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Sarena, we'll be in touch. We'll be here. I'll be having you back on very soon.
I cannot wait, and you know it. We'll talk then. Thanks again for having us. Bye.
Of course. God bless, and have a good day, everyone. There you have it, folks. I think that was a bombshell, allegation that's been levied that there is teeth to this, and we could prove easily here how we have repeatedly, time in and time out, shown that there is not only corruption, cover-up scandals, it's disgusting. And it's an honor to actually have Sarena on and actually come on here first and have everyone on. And like I said, Ambra, my heart goes out to her. This is what they do to victims. And Mike knows a lot about what has been going on in the police department. And I think I need to have him back on. If not, have him on the network discussing what is going on and how to fix it. Because it takes someone like him. See, they don't like him because he's not part of the program. But it's people like that that will change things for the better, especially in the police department. Because as you know, we have guys running around on Saturdays hanging out with, I guess, people that are also married like them. And, they have their driver there in Crown Heights, not in uniform, and they, driving around on Long Island. We don't know who authorized anything, but hey, taxpayers pay for everything. So that's what's going on in New York City. But so of course, at the end, I like to segue into something that's a little more, we'll say upbeat, even though it's really not, because yesterday, I also love soccer. I don't know if you guys know. So Champions League semifinals was yesterday, and my favorite team, Inter Milan, played FC Barcelona out in Spain. It was a clash of two different styles. I don't know if people follow soccer. I'm Italian. It's a huge thing. It's like a religious, it's just like religion in an Italian household. So Inter was playing, and we ended up tying 3-3. And in the Champions Leagues, if you score goals away, so let's say, and there it is, Yamal. I mean, this guy was unbelievable last night. It's a young kid on Barcelona. If you score 1 goal, it counts as 2 if you're the away team, because that's how they do it. So it's 3-3 right now, and then there's a second game, and that's going to be played in San Siro, which is Milan, which will be the second half of this. And I hope Inter could pull it through to go back to the Champions League final. They're right now in second place in the Italian Serie A, which is domestic league, which is the each country has their own domestic league. So check that out. That'll be on the Paramount Plus next week, I believe, on a Tuesday or Wednesday. Then, of course, highlight. It's the season's now set. There's the final standings. As you could tell, the Fireballs won. We had the Devils second place. We had the Renegades third. The Warriors, as an asterisk, they actually broke the rules to put them in fourth place because they did not have more wins than my team, the Chargers. They finished 2 wins less, but somehow they are in fourth place. Maybe there's politics playing in it, because politics here might be playing in hand because the rules state the team with the most wins is the first tiebreaker. I don't know what happened there. So the playoffs are set. So I believe I actually have the graphic here. The next match here, Friday night, is the Warriors versus the Fireballs, 7 p.m. You go to Magic City Fronton and watch that live, or you could go on YouTube at the Highlight League Network, or also ESPN3 or highlightworld.com/battlecourt. And the second game, which is of the playoffs, will be the Renegades versus the Devils. That's 2 p.m. on Sunday. That's only on broadcast. You can't go to Magic City to watch that live, but ESPN3 or YouTube on the Highlight League Network to catch that. And we only have, after this, 1 more week. Next Friday is the final to see the, I guess you call it the championship, but really the fourth place team that's playing is really not the fourth place team. Just keep that in mind. The Knicks, I believe, they lost. They had a chance to close it out. They lost the other day against the Pistons. So they're going to game 6, folks. That anything can happen. I don't know if they're going to pull it through, but I saw that they lost a gut wrencher, and that's been the Knicks franchise their whole, for forever. That's been out of Knicks play. They haven't won since the 70s, may I add. And of course, the Mets, who are right now playing, I believe they're playing the Diamondbacks at Citi Field. That game is live. Last night, I believe they lost, and it was, they had the bases loaded in the final inning there in the 9th, but they couldn't pull it through. We still have the best record in the majors, and we're still ahead by about 5 games on the Phillies. This weekend, though, I will be at Lone Depot Park to watch the Marlins are playing the Oakland Athletics, I believe. I believe that's the game that I'm going to go see. It's on Saturday. It's always fun to see Lone Depot. The Marlins playing at Lone Depot Park. It's always a great time. As you know, I've chronicled this on the show with a video on Italian Heritage Night, which was anything but Italian Heritage Night. I was the only Italian there, I believe. There it is at 4 o'clock. I'll be there to watch the Oakland A's against the Miami Marlins, who are now in 3rd place. They're trying, they're charging, and we'll see. So tomorrow, 8:05 live. Check out the Finest Unfiltered. I don't know if they're doing a roundtable, but definitely going to be some hot topics coming out on the show. And also, Finest Unfiltered Network. Check out the Executive Perspective with Rob Lukash and Ron Layson. I heard Ron had a car accident yesterday. Everything went okay, thankfully. So you'll see him back on Wednesday. He had a little bit of a dust up there in New York City, but everything's fine. So Ron will be back at it. I think John had to fill in for him briefly yesterday. So tune into that 17:05, 5:05 Eastern live every Wednesday. But go back and you can check out yesterday's episode if you're on the network. And again, 8:05 live tomorrow. Check out the Finest Unfiltered. And please, if you haven't already, please keep Eric Dim and his family in your prayers. Yeah, well, we'll see tomorrow. Maybe we'll try to maybe Eric will come on, or when he comes on. But please just keep Eric and his family in your prayers. If you haven't bought the T-shirts, if you haven't gone and donated to the GoFundMe to help him out, but yeah, it's a little gut wrenching. I don't want to say anything, but just please keep the family in your prayers. And Eric, my heart goes out to you. You're like my brother, and yeah, just please keep Eric and your family in your prayers. With that being said, thank you for tuning in. I will see you all back here live 1:05 p.m. next Tuesday. Until then, everyone, have a great weekend. Enjoy the weather. Enjoy, highlight. And let's go Mets. Let's go Inter. And let's just try to have a great rest of our day. So with that being said, I'm signing off from sunny Florida, which is, as you know, a sunny place for shady people.
So this is a biblical moment. You know, when Jesus was on the cross, he said, God, forgive them, for they know not what they do. All these Negroes who are asking me to step down, God, forgive them. Are you stupid?